Hey everybody, this is Shravan Aparaju. A long time no see. I'm here to give my opinions about the recently held French Open before the dust finally settles. I know it's been a week since the championships, but before the dust settles, I'd like to give my opinion. I have a lot to say because I haven't recorded a video in almost a year, or maybe it could have been longer. Uh, but French Open 2023 has just concluded, and Novak Djokovic is our champion. Wow, what an incredible achievement this is. 23 Grand Slam titles. The record in men's tennis. He equals Serena Williams's singles Grand Slam record. And a decade ago, it's been thought of as something that's almost not achievable. Pete Sampras's 14 Grand Slam titles seemed like a long shot for Roger Federer in the early 2000s, but in the last 2 decades, we've had three players who reached in men's tennis who reached more than 20 Grand Slam titles. But 23 Grand Slam titles is something of an incredible achievement in men's tennis. I have to hats off to Novak. He did all the hard work. He's 36 years old, and this is unheard of. Last year Rafa Nadal actually he broke Roger Federer's record of 20 Grand Slams by winning the Australian Open and French Open in 2022. And he was 36 at that time. So Novak is right about the same age that Rafa was last year. Let's see where Novak goes from here. He still seems pretty strong physically. He's not had the injuries that Rafa and Roger. Roger never had injuries, as far as I remember, but Rafa had a lot more injuries than Novak and Roger. But Rafa, I think he is. I don't think he's going to make a comeback. I don't think his Grand Slam tally is going to improve from 22. I think he will stop at 22. He recently underwent hip surgery. I think while the French Open was in progress, and you can see Andy Murray. Andy Murray had he's been playing reasonably well, but he's not the same player after the hip surgery, Andy Murray. So I don't think Rafa, he's much older than Murray was at the same time. I don't see any Rafa comeback next year. He's done for this season anyway. So Novak Djokovic is currently the undisputed GOAT of men's tennis for now. Is he though? Is he the undisputed GOAT? 23 Grand Slams is unquestionable. He probably could have had more Grand Slams if not for the pandemic. I personally feel that the pandemic affected all players, all top players like Roger, Rafa, and Novak for sure. Maybe even Andy Murray, maybe Dominic Thiem. It affected a lot of players. It changed the whole world, to be honest, and definitely changed the numbers for these top players. Novak, getting disqualified, or Novak getting disqualified in US Open 2000 because of that ball incident. I felt that was unfair at that time, but he was disqualified. Roger and Rafa weren't even playing because of the pandemic. And Wimbledon 2000 was never held. It was cancelled because of the pandemic again. That could have been a Roger, Rafa, or even I think it would have been a Roger Federer's Wimbledon to lose. Because he lost in 2019 after having 2 match points against Novak. That was a heartbreaking loss to Roger. He should have had that Wimbledon, in my opinion. He was a better player for most part. But anyway, Novak again was not allowed last year to play in the Australian Open and the US Open. He couldn't play a lot of tournaments in the US because of restrictions, visa restrictions or whatnot. Not visa restrictions, but because he was not vaccinated. And so, yeah, he probably should have or could have had more Grand Slams, by this time last year. But, hey, that's life, right? I mean, he was the one. He had some beliefs and he believed in them, and it was up to him whether to take a jab or not. So as for Nadal, he did extremely well last year. He won the Australian Open, French Open, and then made it to the semis in Wimbledon before getting injured and having to give Nick Kyrgios a walkover in the semifinal. Just thinking about that, let me just get into a segue of walkovers. I don't think walkovers in Grand Slam should be allowed. The reason for, sorry about my dogs. I don't think walkovers in Grand Slams should be allowed. If a player gets injured while he's playing, I understand, there's not much the other player, the opponent can do. So at that time, walkover or getting retired is completely acceptable. But a player should never have to give a walkover without playing a single point in Grand Slams. It happened to Nick Kyrgios in the semifinal because Rafa retired or actually gave a walkover because of injury. I think Taylor Fritz should have had a shot at playing Nick Kyrgios in last year's Wimbledon. If you remember, Nadal went 5 sets beating Taylor Fritz. It was a great match. It could have gone either way, but I think he should have been given a shot to play. The rules are the rules, I understand, but they should change, for the better of the sport. Also, this year in French Open, Gael Monfils, who actually came back from injury, he's a local boy. He got a wild card entry into French Open, and he beat Sebastian Baez in the first round. That was a 5-setter. Monfils had to dig in deep to, beat Baez. Baez is a good player, good and upcoming and young player. And then after that, Monfils is done because, he's just coming back from injury. His legs weren't there. He's older. So he couldn't really compete in the next match, and he gave Rune a walkover in the second round. I think that's a little unfair to the player that just lost. Because Monfils didn't. He just gave a walkover right after the match, I guess. But that shouldn't happen in any sport. If a player gets injured, it's understandable after playing a point or two, whatever. But walkovers should not be accepted, and it's totally unfair to the other players that are playing. Definitely don't want to give a walkover in semifinal or quarterfinal or fourth round or whatnot, because that's too easy for the opponent. You can't just get a walkover and get past in Grand Slam tournaments, in my opinion. But again, that's for a different day. Going back to Novak, how is he doing it? Is he the GOAT? To me, that's still debatable. I know I was a Novak fan for many years myself, but I was a Nadal fan, a Federer fan at times, depending on where I was in my life, I guess. But they're all great players. Winning 20 plus Grand Slams is no joke in men's tennis. 3 people did that in the last 2 decades, and that's just amazing. And is that how the trend is going to be? We have not heard any single male player winning more than 14 Grand Slams, or for that matter, for many years it was just 11 or 12. I think Rod Laver, if I'm not wrong, I think he has about 12 major titles, if I'm not wrong, or maybe 11. I know Bjorn Borg has 11 titles. It was a record for many years. I know he had a French Open record of 7 French Opens for many years before Rafa broke him. But I don't know, I feel like that, we will probably see more records being broken from, in the future. That may just be the trend, but I don't have an explanation at this point. But it's hard to believe 3 players were able to get to 20 plus Grand Slams in the last 2 decades in men's tennis. So I think that may, I'm not going to say somebody is going to come and break Novak's record 23 in the next 10 years or so, but I think that could happen. We'll probably see more and more players getting to double-digit slams, you know. But anyway, what I wanted to discuss is Novak. How is he doing it at 36? It's just unbelievable the way he looked in French Open, Australian Open. I feel like even Wimbledon last year, I felt like nobody really challenged him. As soon as I saw his opponents in earlier rounds, round robin rounds, as well as even after in the quarters and later, I never felt like anybody could beat him. Sinner took him to 4 sets or 5 sets last year in Wimbledon. Musetti took him to 5 sets in French Open last year. These are young players that are still up and coming. I think Novak goes to another level after he takes that bathroom break, and I don't know what concoction his team gives him, his coaching team gives him. I'm sure they came up with something that it's more like a 5-hour energy, it's a drink, it's something like that which gives him instant energy for several hours, and he seems fresh while he doesn't seem as fresh playing the first set or two where he looks lethargic like the old guys that, old guy he is. But after taking a bathroom break, he changes to a completely different player, and the other player falls apart after seeing him hit the ball hard, maybe move better, maybe it's just his body language. I think he has a mental edge over a lot of players, in my opinion, especially these up-and-coming younger players. So I really didn't think anybody challenged him, even because other than those 2 matches that I remember, nobody even took him to a 4th set. Like, he was winning straight set matches pretty much. In Australian Open, he had a hamstring injury, which appeared to be a hamstring injury, and he could barely move, or he was not moving as well, but he still won the championship. And I didn't think I would have thought somebody would be able to take him to a 5-set match, but it never happened. He pretty much won in straight sets. In French Open, I think this is what happened. Novak didn't look good throughout the clay season, but all of a sudden, in French Open, yes, he made those comments that said, hey, Grand Slam is a different beast, best of 5 is different from best of 3 and all that, but yeah, he's won 22 Grand Slams or 22 Grand Slams by that time. He obviously has to ooze confidence in himself, and I understand that part, that it's a mental game at that point, but he didn't look good, he didn't look good throughout the clay season. I thought there were a few players that probably had a good chance of beating him, but again, draws. It's all about draws. He got a reasonably good draw, in my opinion, even though he was on the same side as Alcaraz, and Alcaraz was playing at an extremely high level, not just last year, but also this year. He started off really well. And I thought he was definitely a better player throughout the clay season, including Roland Garros this year. But what happened in that semifinal? What happened was Alcaraz, it was such a big match. I think the magnitude of the match actually had the best of Alcaraz, because he had some nerves, and I've seen Alcaraz having nerves in big games before. He takes some time to settle down, which is what happened. He had nerves. Djokovic had nerves also, because he knew that this was if he had to win the championship, he had to get past Alcaraz, and he was not confident, I can tell you that for sure. So what happened? Alcaraz was nervous. I couldn't watch the whole match. I did watch it live, on TV while it was happening, but I was at work, so I couldn't. I could only watch it in bits and pieces. But Alcaraz was really nervous. Djokovic wasn't moving as well, like we've seen him do in majors many times in the first set or two. It took a while for Alcaraz to settle down, but once he settled down, I think he got more and more comfortable. You could see that in the second set, even though the second set, so he lost the first set because I think it's nerves, honestly. He had his opportunities to break Novak many times in the first set, but he could not do it. Novak played well, I have to give him that for sure, but he was playing, I think, at his max capacity. He was tired, I can tell you that for sure. In the second set, Alcaraz, he didn't take over, but you could tell that he was a better player, he was a better mover, he was hitting the ball much more cleanly, he was not afraid to take shots. He won the second set, and that was an unbelievable level of tennis that I saw. I've seen Alcaraz play at that level. I mean, people, I keep seeing these Djokovic fans saying that, oh wow, Djokovic made Alcaraz get tired and he took his legs and blah blah blah. It's nonsense, in my opinion. The reason is I've seen Alcaraz play the last couple of years, especially in 2022. He had many matches like that. If you watch US Open, most of his matches, especially that match against Sinner and Tiafoe, they were pretty exhausting matches, especially against Sinner. That was a 5-setter. It could have gone either way, but Alcaraz pulled through and won the US Open eventually. And then we saw some of those high-level tennis games in what was it, Miami Open against Kecmanovic last year. So I've seen Alcaraz play some really high-level matches, and definitely it wasn't the legs. He could play at that level. He's capable of playing at that level, and no, Djokovic did not. Yes, it was a very intense match, or the first couple of sets, but he didn't take his legs. I mean, Alcaraz cramped not because that he was dehydrated or he didn't, hydrate enough the last couple of days or whatnot. He had enough rest. He's more than fit to be able to play 5 sets. I had no questions about that. I think he got cramped because of his nerves, honestly. And you could say, oh, it's because of Djokovic. It's not just because of Djokovic, it's because of the magnitude of the match. Alcaraz knew that it may be his first French Open title if he beats Djokovic, and he knew inside his mind that he is a better player, and I can tell you that for sure. Now, some of you fans, Joker fans, may not agree to this, but I feel like Alcaraz knew that he was very much capable of beating Djokovic. But the nerves got the best of him, and I don't know if it's because of the fall that happened in the second set. That he fell down, and then I think he used his hands to support himself. I mean, I heard somewhere that he got injured, or his left hand got injured or something. Is it because of that? I'm not 100% sure, but I think the nerves got the best of him and he got cramps because of that. Not just the physical aspect of the game, I think it's the mental aspect of the game. And he knew after the second set victory, he knew, I think it was a big relief for him. So I think all the tension in the first couple of sets, as well as the release of tension that happened after winning the second set, pretty much caused his cramps, in my opinion. But again, I'm not going to say Djokovic won fair and square, because it was not fair and square. Alcaraz was obviously crammed up, and he couldn't play the next 2 sets. People that actually did not watch the match looked at the score and said, oh, Djokovic, look at me, I told you Djokovic is going to thrash Alcaraz in French Open. Oh, never underestimate Joker, never bet against him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they just looked at the score and said, oh, 6-1, 6-1, oh, 6-3, 5-7, 6-1, 6-1. Look at the way Djokovic beat Alcaraz. That's not what happened. Alcaraz couldn't move in the third and fourth sets. And he was a better player for most part in the second set. Joker, trust me, he was playing at his max capacity. That was his max, and Alcaraz still beat him in the second set. But hey, congrats to Novak. Even if Alcaraz beat Djokovic in French Open, I think they would have said, oh, he's an older Djokovic, not the same as the Joker in prime and stuff like that. So kudos to Djokovic for actually beating all the other players, including Alcaraz. He got past Alcaraz in the semifinal. He beat Casper Ruud pretty easily. I thought Casper Ruud had the game to challenge Novak, but he's not Alcaraz. None of the other players are Alcaraz. Sinner, as well as he plays against Alcaraz, if he demonstrates the same killer mentality against Novak, I think Sinner has a good chance at challenging Novak in Wimbledon. So that's about French Open. Congratulations to Novak Djokovic. He's got 23 Grand Slams now, and I don't see anybody get past that record. Records are meant to be broken, but I don't see anybody breaking that record in the near future. If anybody, there are some guys. Alcaraz is one of them, obviously. Sinner, Luna. I think these guys definitely have the game and the age. They have plenty of time to get to that stage, or get closer to the record. But they have to start with one. So that's about French Open. I think I'll do another video about Wimbledon and what my predictions for Wimbledon are for this upcoming year. And I'll talk a little more about Djokovic and Alcaraz matchups in the future in my next video. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any comments about some of the stuff that I said or mentioned, please post in the comments. Or else peace. Talk to you later.